Hey, good day, YouTube. So real quick, maybe not so quick, we'll see how long this takes. We need to have a discussion about Bitcoin before this really gets out of hand. It's far beyond where I think most people even expected it to go. But we got to break this down, and I got to put out there my understanding because as I see it, this can't end any way but bad. And if I'm wrong, I need a better explanation of why, and because I think everybody would like to get on the action, but also we need to get it out there. People need to be warned before they get on this railroad tracks that goes to nowhere off into the canyon. Bitcoin and any other cryptocurrency is just that. It's just currency, just like the dollar. No better, no less. Well, I guess there's advantages on both sides, whether you have a dollar, physical dollar in your hand, or a Bitcoin in your wallet, in your Bitcoin wallet, in your electronic currency. I guess to put it that way. So they're both used as currency. The Bitcoin gives you the anonymity that you would have at a dollar in person when you go to make a transaction. When I take a dollar to the gas station, there's really not a record of that. When I take a Bitcoin to Amazon or eBay, I don't know which one I'm taking. Whoever takes a Bitcoin online, and I use a Bitcoin, it's anonymous at that level. Like when I take a dollar bill, pay $20 on gas, it's just as anonymous. So there's that. Other than that, what is the difference? What is the benefit? Okay, the dollar bill, used by the Federal Reserve, is an inflationary currency by nature because they have to inflate and continue to print more and more of it to pay off the debt which they make by borrowing every time from the Federal Reserve. So I get that. That's inflationary. The Bitcoin is a limited number, I guess 24 million or something like that. And they're getting close to that number. We're at like 19 million Bitcoin mined at this point, or whatever it is. So we're getting close to the end of that. In that nature, that makes each one more valuable. Technically, if you go off of supply and demand. As long as people want it, it gets more and more valuable. So there's that. So to buy a Bitcoin, to use it in a transaction is one thing. To use it as an investment, because at some point we're going to get to 24 million, and it's going to become more valuable. If people want that anonymity of an online or electronic transaction. Because you can do electronic transactions with any other type of dollar-based, debit card, credit card, but it doesn't give you the anonymity. There's a much more hard transaction level there. So once that 24 million level's hit, the value of the Bitcoin technically by supply and demand is going to go up as long as people continue to want to use that as a currency. Am I right? So that's the investment side of it. The dollar side, the only thing it's backed by is our labor. Continuing to need to work to get that. It's easier to pay for $5. Our labor, is devalued, or our labor gets more and more dollars, but we can buy less and less with it, if that makes sense. That's minimum wage is there to support the inflationary dollar. It's not there because labor is actually worth more. The real market for labor is somewhere probably in the $4 or $5 range. But let's just say it's $5 an hour, if that was what you worked for. You work for it, you use $5, you go buy something. $10. $10 an hour, you work an hour to get $10, you go buy something. Bitcoin would be the opposite. Whereas we can expect inflationary rates to give us more and more dollars for our hour of labor, it takes more and more hours of labor to get Bitcoin, whether you're mining it or you want to buy it. Case in point, Bitcoin was $1,000 last year. Now it's 15,000 or 16 or 19, whatever it is today. it goes up and down at $2,000 an increment. It seems like most of us could never afford, work for a full Bitcoin. And I don't know of anybody that pays in Bitcoin, so that's unless you're doing some other transaction, you got a side job or something, maybe it's out there. But for the most part, you don't work for Bitcoin, but you do work for the dollar, and that gives you a certain amount an hour. If you go to work for a Bitcoin through mining, it takes more and more effort to get that single or 0.0001 Bitcoin or whatever. So it's taking more labor to get those resources, which is also inflation, or I should say makes the market inflationary, as in each Bitcoin's going to cost more and more. It takes more and more to get one. Am I following so far? That's my understanding. So when this 24 million market is tapped out, it's going to, again, exponentially go up as long as people are wanting to get them that don't have them. But other than anonymity, what is it? So, it's not anything physical in my hand, except for I have to have a wallet. I can't have a wallet. I can save my digits on a piece of paper. I saw a little gadget that printed out your blockchain for you on a piece of paper, and you could write it down or whatever, and all your digits you needed to do the transaction. So that wouldn't be stored on a computer. It would be actually physical, all your gadgets, and it deletes the electronic track. So it's all written. That's actually written on paper. So you got a math equation on your paper for your Bitcoin, or 10th millionth of a Bitcoin, or whatever it is you have. But it's not physical. It's not anything I could do with that. Same as a dollar. It represents something else. As they say, a dollar is not real money. It's the shadow of money. So the real concern I have is people are trying to sell this line. Okay, if you're in it for investment and you're going to make profit, you're going to buy it now, buy low, sell high. It's just like a stock or anything else. That's all it is. But there's people selling it as if Bitcoin is going to take down the central banks of the world, and it's going to be freedom and free economy. I don't understand the leap from being tied to the dollar and really being extremely expensive. I mean, if it's 20,000 a Bitcoin now for one, what's it going to be when it stops producing, when you can't mine them anymore? There's 24 million are tapped out. You just go to an alternate cryptocurrency that's a little easier to get. I mean, is there a market? I can see where these are, like Litecoin and all these other coins that are out there, like how much labor it actually takes to get one. So you can find out what the cheapest one is to go get it, so that you can get the most growth out of that until it reaches its top end and it just takes off, if people still want to get it. I mean, we have electronic transactions. It's not like it makes it any easier. It's just the anonymity of the whole thing. It's the only benefit I see of the thing, but people treat it like it's the next thing I mean, people are comparing it to the advent of early servers and on the internet and stuff like that. And I don't get the connection when it's not anything that actually does anything other than makes your transactions easier, potentially. I don't know. Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I'm too dense and too old. I've seen on both sides on YouTube people that I've followed for years that are gold and silver people who like Bitcoin and are all in, or not all in, but they're using it as a diversification tool. And I get the investment part as far as short term, make some cash and cash out. I get that. But other than that, I don't see a benefit for it at all. I think it's very hazardous because, again, you are relying on other people to get in on it, just like any stock, just like anything on Wall Street. It relies on other people to get in there and buy it so you can sell high. Because if it doesn't do that, then you have currency, and you can still use it as currency, but somebody has to be willing to take it. It's just like a stock. Somebody has to be willing to buy it from you before you can profit from it. Just like your dollar, when you go to the store, you hope they take it. So there's a hope factor there. There's a common societal understanding that this will be worth something, and somebody will want to buy it from me in the long run. I don't see it being anything else. To think that currency, because currency is not going to solve our worldwide central bank problem. Central banks created currency. The idea that blockchain, because it's somehow got this formula behind it other than the bank continually making up digits in a computer, that's better, is not logical to me. Because it's no more real. Real stuff, real tangible stuff, is the only thing I see that can counter the fake currency that we've been dealt with for the last 100 years. So, please comment below. I know Bobby's going to come in here and see this and say something, so have at it. And if you're mining, and you're able to, and Bobby's a prime example, Yankee 4, if you guys don't know him, he's a prime example of somebody that I think that can take advantage of it and profit, because he is using off-grid power to generate Bitcoin. That is the ideal, and that makes perfect sense, because you have a regenerative power source churning out Bitcoin that you can turn into cash and use it to profit and make other stuff and buy stuff, get goods and services. But if you're using the power off the grid, which you're having to pay for, I don't know that, especially now, as far out as long as it takes to make Bitcoin, that it's worth it, because you're probably putting more into that electric bill than to generate the Bitcoin. Somebody have to do the formula or the math for me, but that's my supposition. But if you're using solar, you're probably in good shape. And keep mining until you can't anymore, really, in my opinion. So Bobby, have at it. But everybody else wants to go out, put $100 and get a millionth or thousandth of a Bitcoin or whatever it would be right now, and just ride that till it goes up. Well, at some point you got to sell to do anything with it, or use that to buy something you really, really wanted, which might be the key. But now you have the IRS just is going to go into Coinbase, tear the records apart, and come after people for taxes, which is not going to be a pleasant situation, because everybody wanted the anonymity of it. But if that goes away because the IRS is in all these exchanges to get their taxes from you, how far back are they going to go? There's talk of, if you had more than X number of Bitcoin after this date, that's who they're looking for. That there was a limit. They wanted all the records in Coinbase, but the judge limited them to, okay, only a certain amount, because that amount was only over the taxable, trackable, what they want to be able to track or whatever. So the government's still trying to come after it. So I'm with the whole fight the man thing. I just don't think it's effective enough to fight the man, especially with IP address tracking and everything else. That seems too easy to track down in the long run. But that's some of my thoughts. We need to get to a solution on this as this thing continues to push up and either become the tulip mania of 2018, or it becomes the next Amazon. Whichever one it is. Everybody'd like to be on board, and to just, because all I see on the Bitcoin channels are, you've got to get in, this is the ground floor, this is a great thing, this is freedom in the economy. But when I look what it's tied to and how it works, it's not freedom in the economy. It still takes that tie to make it effective. And once there's only 24 million of it, it's going to become like any deflationary currency, I guess, which in its own way is good for the average person, because your Bitcoin become more valuable. So that's good. You can buy more with less, which is good for the purchaser, which is why the banks are really going to go after it. And that's why that's why they established the whole currency system to begin with, to be able to get leverage on people, and instead of the other way around, people getting leverage on the banks and other things. That they didn't want the power to be at the bottom with the laborer, which is what your bartering and stuff gives. Is the labor you put in is what you are able to get out. If you don't work, if you're a banker in the old days, you didn't get a whole lot. Unless you cheated and lied and scammed people. So I guess in that respect, if BitCoin becomes something that you can work for, like go out and paint a house and get a tenth of a Bitcoin or whatever, then you might be talking about something that is really going to have more potential in the future. And then you're going to be able to compare the different currencies, Litecoin, and oh goodness, there's so many I can't even keep track. That you're going to be able to create leverage at the ground level up. So there you do get leverage on the central bank. So I can kind of see that avenue. If these processes can escape the central banks in the long run. So I guess there's hope. I just don't know that I wouldn't be putting my life savings into it, anybody out there. But if you're looking for a short-term turnaround and trying to cash out, have at it. And if you can work for it, if you can find somebody that'll pay you Bitcoin, that's probably an advantage that you could have. Is anybody advertising out there? We'll hire for 1 Bitcoin a year or something, 2 Bitcoins a year, whatever. Something to think about. All right, I guess that's my end. That's where we're at. When you can start working for it and using it to leverage your labor, that's when it'll become really, really valuable, I think, for the average person. But that's also when the regulators and the government's really going to want to shut it down like they are. Well, they already are, or trying to, or want to. So, all right. That's enough rambling for today. Live free.
My opinion. What do you think? Yes or no? Be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Bitcoin and other cyber currencies are now popping up all over the place. More than 1,100 new Bitcoin-type startups are hoping to cash in on this fastest-growing trend in the world of money. Will Bitcoin become the next world currency? Will it replace the U.S. dollar? Should you buy into the exciting world of cyber currencies? Find out what's causing Bitcoin's value to explode. For the answers to these questions and more, Swiss America has just put together a special research report. Is Bitcoin the future of money? It is free only if you call 800-289-2646. Free if you call 800-289-2646. Swiss America has researched Bitcoin extensively to help my listeners get up to speed fast. And what they found is amazing. I want you to call now. I want you to get the facts, and I want you to get this free report now. Is Bitcoin the future of money? You better call 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. Call it, get it now. It's free. 800-289-2646.
From tweeting this to Insta that, people are posting more inane drivel than ever. No one cares about your kids or is longing for a lunch picture, and definitely doesn't need another bathroom selfie. Welcome to the original social media, posting news and topics and sharing your comments and opinions. And you're welcome to join us. News Talk 780 KOH. So much selection, so much savings, so little time. Start your new year now at Capital Ford's year-end sales event with clearance pricing on hundreds of new Fords. Now that's a reason to celebrate. Take up to 10,750 off F-150s. Take up to 5,500 off Explorers. Or choose 0% financing for 72 months plus 1,500 bonus cash on Escape, Edge, Explorer, or Expedition.